The first time Trevor Maddox saw an alien, he was ankle-deep in a flooded basement, trying to fix a sump pump that had given up during a thunderstorm. The lights flickered once, twice, then held steady. When he stood upright, wrench in hand, a tall, glistening figure stood in the narrow concrete stairwell, ducking slightly to fit under the ceiling. Trevor blinked. "You with the city?" he asked. The creature responded in a series of warbling tones like someone gargling marbles in a wind tunnel. Trevor stared blankly for a moment, then muttered, "Guess not." The alien's skin shimmered like oil on water, and its limbs were long, almost too long, like someone had dragged the idea of a person through saltwater taffy. It carried no weapon, wore no armor, just a belt with blinking lights and something that looked suspiciously like a wine opener. "Look, if this is about the permit," Trevor started. The alien interrupted him with a device that projected English into the air like a clipped, robotic echo. Subject, human. No threat. Weak musculature. Dull sensory range. Minimal fangs. Laughable claws. Trevor frowned. "Hey, I floss." The alien turned sideways, fitting fully into the room. The translator continued, "Primary predators of this planet examined. Bears, slow. Wolves, uncoordinated. Sharks, aquatic limitation. Reptilian threats, obsolete. Assessment, planetary inhabitants reliant on tools due to evolutionary failure." "You're standing in my basement, pal," Trevor said, crossing his arms. "Didn't need claws to invent indoor plumbing. Tool use compensatory. Biological inferiority confirmed." Trevor looked over his shoulder. "Maggie. You seeing this?" No answer. His wife was probably upstairs with their daughter, reading bedtime stories. Another alien entered behind the first, shorter, bulkier, less graceful. It bumped its head on the doorframe and let out a low groan. Analysis complete. Begin cultural acquisition. Start with local apex species. Trevor stepped aside. "Well, good luck with that. You want the apex predator? Go introduce yourself to the cat." He gestured upstairs half-heartedly, not expecting a response. The aliens turned to each other, made a sound like wet Velcro pulling apart, then proceeded up the stairs. Trevor followed, wrench still in hand, not because he thought he'd need it, but because it felt like the kind of situation where having a wrench might matter. Catsy was already sprawled on the living room couch, her tail flicking lazily as the aliens entered the room. She blinked slowly, unimpressed. The taller alien leaned in, scanning. Small creature. Feline. Displays territorial behavior. Minimal size. Fur covered. Evaluate threat. Catsy arched her back. The alien extended a limb, cautiously reaching toward her. She hissed once. Both aliens stepped back in unison. Catsy leapt from the couch, landed with a soft thud, and advanced. Her ears flattened. She let out a guttural growl that seemed to shake the confidence of the bulkier alien. The translator chirped. Unexpected aggression. Reassessing classification. Catsy lunged. Not a full pounce, just a swift, deliberate swipe of the paw across the taller alien's shin. Claws out. Contact made. Trevor winced as the alien stumbled backward, colliding with a lamp that shattered instantly. The shorter alien emitted a high-frequency sound that made Trevor's feelings hurt. The taller one turned and bolted toward the stairs, disoriented, knees knocking. Catsy pursued them halfway down the stairs before stopping, tail twitching triumphantly. Trevor stood frozen. "You just got chased off by a housecat," he said quietly. "Welcome to Earth." The next morning, Maggie found him at the kitchen table, staring into a mug of coffee like it held answers. "You look like you saw a ghost," she said. "Aliens," he replied. She raised an eyebrow. "No, really. 2 of them. Came into the basement, insulted our entire species, then got chased off by Catsy." Maggie glanced at their feline, who was licking her paw with aristocratic indifference. "She does have strong opinions about strangers," Maggie said, pouring herself a cup. "I'm serious." "I know." He looked up. "You believe me?" "Trevor, you called me last year from the garage because you thought the lawnmower was possessed. It was making a clicking noise. It was a rock in the blade." He sighed. "This was different. They scanned me. Said humans were weak. Said our predators were a joke." Maggie leaned against the counter, and then got chased away by a 10-pound tabby. Trevor nodded slowly. I'll be honest, she said, I'm more worried about what they'll do next. The answer came 2 nights later. Trevor woke to a low vibration, a hum like distant turbines. He sat up and looked out the window. Hovering silently above their backyard was a vessel the size of a school bus. It pulsed with blue lights and emitted a soft mist from its underside. Of course, Trevor muttered. He threw on jeans and a flannel, grabbed a flashlight and his phone, and stepped outside barefoot. The grass was cold. The air smelled like ozone. The ship lowered a platform. One of the aliens, taller, thinner, but different from the first pair, descended. It walked with more authority, posture straight, eyes glowing faintly. Trevor squinted. You the supervisor? The alien tilted its head. Chief Evaluator Zarn. Apologies for prior agents. Their assessment methods were incomplete. Yeah, I'd say so, Trevor replied, scratching his neck. You here to apologize to the cat? Zarn looked past him toward the porch where Catsy now sat, tail wrapped neatly around her paws. We underestimated her, Zarn said without irony. Trevor blinked. You're serious? She demonstrated unprovoked aggression. Unpredictable territorial response. No social diplomacy. High-speed reflexes. Biological weapons on 5 limbs. 4, Trevor corrected. Tails just for balance. Zarn glanced at Catsy again. Still formidable. Trevor folded his arms. You guys came all this way to study apex predators and forgot to check in with the real one. Zarn paused. We are. Revising our hierarchy. Good. Maybe start with a warning label next time. Suddenly, a rustling from the bushes on the left caught their attention. Zarn turned instinctively. Out leapt another cat, feral, larger, with tangled fur and a missing ear. Zarn stumbled backward, startled. The cat hissed and bounded off into the night. Trevor laughed once. Welcome to suburbia. Within hours, the message had gone galactic. Trevor didn't know it at the time, but Zarn's ship had transmitted real-time footage to a network of observers across 9 systems. Catsy's short but effective charge had been replayed in slow motion, analyzed frame by frame. The moment her claws made contact with the alien skin had been turned into a meme on 3 planets. By morning, Trevor's quiet cul-de-sac had been surrounded by 22 ships, all hovering at respectful distance, none willing to land. Maggie was livid. There are burn marks on the lawn, she said, pointing. You know how long it took to get that grass even? Trevor stood beside her, arms crossed, watching the ships hover. Maybe we should charge admission, he said. Their daughter, Kara, came running from the house, backpack over her shoulder. Are those aliens? She asked breathlessly. Don't point, Maggie said instinctively. Trevor glanced at the nearest vessel. Pretty sure they're too afraid to come closer. Kara grinned. Is it because of Catsy? Yup. Catsy, for her part, remained unimpressed, napping under a folding chair in the sun. Later that week, Trevor was invited aboard one of the ships. Zarn extended the offer personally, this time with a translator that had been updated with more appropriate cultural filters. I'm not signing anything, Trevor said as he stepped onto the platform. Understood. The ship interior looked like a sterile art gallery, smooth walls, soft lighting, and no visible control panels. Zarn led him down a hallway to a viewing chamber where a screen displayed a looping video of Catsy's attack. You're still watching this? Trevor asked. It is being reviewed. There are implications, such as. Zarn regarded him. If such a small organism can trigger retreat in trained reconnaissance units, it suggests Earth's defensive capabilities may be non-obvious. Trevor laughed. You guys thought you were walking into a zoo. Turns out you found a jungle. Zarn didn't respond. Trevor frowned. You're not planning anything stupid, right? No. We are. Reevaluating. Your species' reliance on unpredictable symbiotic predators may be a deterrent. Trevor considered that. You mean pets? Inaccurate term. They are co-inhabitants with independent behavior and violent instinct. Trevor chuckled. Try telling that to a 3-year-old with a hamster. Zarn turned to face him. We request formal documentation on feline behavior. Trevor blinked. You want me to write a report on cats? Correct. For galactic safety protocols. Trevor rubbed his temples. I fixed some pumps. I'm not a catologist. Still, you are Earth's first contact representative now. Trevor sighed. Fine. But I'm charging overtime. By the end of the month, Trevor had appeared on 2 morning shows, sat through 3 invasive interviews, and had his mailbox filled with letters from distant planets requesting detailed feline defense strategies. Catsy slept through most of it. Maggie finally had the lawn repaired, and the alien ships, one by one, left orbit. Only Zarns remained hovering discreetly above the tree-line. Trevor stood on the porch one evening, sipping cold coffee, watching the stars blink on. Catsy rubbed against his leg. Guess you saved the planet, he murmured. She yawned and flopped onto the porch. Trevor smiled. Next time, let's keep the heroics indoors. Trevor sat at the kitchen table, elbows propped on a stack of interstellar reports he'd printed from the alien archive Zarn had uploaded. He'd been told they were essential background reading for his new position as Earth's informal species liaison, though the documents read more like post-apocalyptic fanfiction written by panicked bureaucrats. Maggie slid a bowl of cereal across to him without asking. They're requesting another update, she said, setting her own bowl down. Something about feline unpredictability under lunar light conditions. Trevor didn't look up. I told them 4 times already. Cats don't transform under moonlight. They just get weirder. Well, someone on the orbital committee seems convinced they're moon-sensitive apex guardians. He picked up a page and squinted. This one has a diagram of Catsy with wings. You want me to make coffee? She muttered, already reaching for the pot. I'd need jet fuel to get through this. The back door creaked open. Kara trudged in from the yard, dragging a long branch behind her. Her jacket was covered in grass stains. Dad, she said, there's a long skinny alien poking our compost bin with a stick. Trevor blinked. Did it say anything? No. Just made a noise like a broken flute. Trevor stood abruptly, chair scraping. Stay inside. Outside, the wind had picked up. Clouds were rolling low and fast, and the edge of the sky looked bruised. He found the visitor crouched beside the compost bin, fully absorbed in whatever it thought it was discovering. Its limbs bent in odd angles, like it had been assembled by someone with a vague idea of anatomy and too many joints to spare. You looking for something specific? Trevor asked, or just enjoying the banana peels? The alien straightened, turning slowly. Its skin had a faint greenish tint with a series of glimmering nodes along its collarbones. Its translator was clipped to what might have been an ear. Organic decay archive, it said. Request, tactile sample. Trevor raised an eyebrow. You want to touch her garbage? Necessary for digestive research. Do you not have trash on your planet? No fermentation zones permitted. All waste is vaporized. Trevor gestured vaguely. Well, that's noble. We mostly just pile it up and hope for the best. The alien extended a hand toward a wilted zucchini. Careful, Trevor warned. Last guy who underestimated Earth life got chased by a 10-pound sociopath. The alien hesitated, then withdrew its hand. Trevor sighed. Look, I'll get you a bag of compost if it'll stop you from rummaging through ours like a raccoon. It nodded once, slow and deliberate. By the time Trevor returned with the bag, Zarn's shuttle had landed near the tool shed. The ship's underside pulsed with amber light and a ramp slid open with a gentle whine. Zarn stood at the base, holding a small silver case. We need your assistance, Zarn said without preamble. Trevor handed the bag to the compost enthusiast and walked over. What kind of assistance? Aboard the vessel. There is a situation. What kind of situation? Medical. Trevor frowned. Call an EMT. Zarn tilted his head. No Earth emergency protocol is applicable. The patient is not human. Trevor followed him up the ramp, boots clanking on the metal. Inside, a narrow corridor led to a dim chamber filled with soft whirring sounds. A low table held a creature curled in on itself, thin limbs twitching. Its skin had darkened unnaturally and a translucent film covered its eyes. Trevor glanced around. Where's your medic? We have none aboard. This was a diplomatic vessel. Medical crew are in orbit. Trevor stepped closer. What happened to it? Uncertain. It consumed a local substance. Then collapsed. Trevor leaned over, sniffed cautiously. You let it eat something from Earth? It was unsupervised for 90 seconds. He looked at the creature. What did it eat? Zarn paused. A round object. Orange in color. Dense rind. Sticky interior. Trevor blinked. You mean a tangerine? That matches the description. Trevor rubbed his forehead. You let an alien with no digestive adaptation eat citrus? It was unintentional. Trevor knelt beside the table. The creature's breathing was shallow but rhythmic. He gently lifted one of its arms. The skin was cool but not cold. Underneath, faint bluish veins pulsed slowly. Why me? He asked, not looking up. You are the only human with classification clearance and prior experience with alien physiology. I cleared a clogged drain for you once. That's not a resume. Zarn didn't respond. Trevor exhaled. All right, I need gloves. And a flashlight. 10 minutes later, Maggie arrived with a first aid kit, a headlamp, and a pair of nitrile gloves Trevor kept for plumbing emergencies. She handed them over silently, then leaned against the wall with arms folded. You're not a vet, she said. Nope. Not a doctor either. Closer to a janitor, really. The creature let out a weak chittering noise. Trevor adjusted the headlamp, inspecting its mouth. A sticky residue clung to its sharp molars. He looked back at Zarn. It chewed the peel, didn't it? Zarn nodded. Of course it did. Trevor stood. I need warm water, a soft cloth, and something mildly alkaline. Zarn's translator buzzed. Clarify. Baking soda, Maggie said. Trevor pointed toward the cabinet. Middle shelf, behind the instant noodles. While Maggie retrieved the supplies, Trevor cleaned the creature's mouth gently, wiping away the pulp. He tilted its head slightly and tapped beside the jaw hinge. Swelling's localized. Doesn't look like anaphylaxis. Probably just acidic overload. You are diagnosing with no equipment, Zarn said. I'm diagnosing based on the fact it looks like a hungover fruit bat. He rinsed the cloth and dabbed the creature's forehead. Its muscles twitched, but the chittering had quieted. Maggie handed him a small container of water. Here. Sip test. Trevor nodded. He tilted a few drops into the creature's mouth. It gurgled, then sighed. The dark patch on its chest began to fade. Looks like it's stabilizing, Trevor said. No thanks to your snack policy. Zarn observed silently. Maggie crossed her arms. You might want to add citrus fruits to your threat database. Zarn inclined his head. I will update the files accordingly. An hour later, the creature was sitting upright, groggy but responsive. It gestured weakly at Trevor, then scratched its neck. He wants to know what that was, Zarn said. Vitamin C, Trevor replied. Your stomach's not built for it. The creature blinked slowly. Zarn turned to Trevor. Your intervention prevented systemic failure. I wiped fruit goo off its tongue. Still, it is alive. Trevor sat down heavily on a bench. You really need to start labeling Earth as a hazardous environment. We are adjusting our protocols. Maggie raised an eyebrow. How many other visitors have tried to eat things? Zarn hesitated. 3. One attempted to digest soil. One consumed a moth. One ingested a coin. Trevor stared. A coin. It was shiny. They assumed nutritional value. He stood again. You're going to need pamphlets. With pictures. We are compiling a survival guide. Make sure it includes, don't lick glowing frogs. Zarn nodded solemnly. That has already been added. By late evening, the ship had lifted off again. The compost enthusiast had departed with its bag of rotting vegetables, and the citrus victim was resting in a recovery pod until its stomach lining regenerated. Trevor sat on the porch with a cold can of soda, watching the stars blink in and out behind slow-moving clouds. Catsy sprawled across the railing, paw dangling lazily. She watched him without blinking. I stopped an alien from dying because it tried to eat a tangerine, he said aloud. The cat flicked her ear once. Next time they ask me for help, I'm charging them in tuna. From the shadows near the shed, another set of eyes gleamed slightly too high, slightly too still. Trevor stared back. Don't even think about chewing the hose, he warned. The alien stepped into view, holding a slinky in both hands as if it were a sacred relic. Behind him, Catsy hissed softly. Trevor took a long sip of soda. Here we go again. By the time Trevor had finished his soda, the slinky had been confiscated and the alien responsible gently redirected to sit on the patio step with a pine cone and strict supervision from Kara, who took naturally to the role of intergalactic babysitter. She'd already given it a name, Stretchy, and was explaining with a patience that bordered on saintly why it couldn't try to eat the pine cone just because it was textured. "See, you don't have the right teeth," she said, tapping her molars. "You've got chewing flaps or whatever those are, but pine cones are for squirrels. Not for whatever you are." The alien blinked, then poked the pine cone again with a single tentative digit. Trevor pulled a folding chair around and sat heavily, cracking his knuckles. Zarn hovered nearby, arms crossed in what Trevor had come to interpret as his version of deep concern. "Why do they keep wandering down here?" Trevor asked him. "They are low-clearance observers undergoing planetary exposure training," Zarn replied. Translation: interns. That is a close approximation. Trevor leaned back. "You have interns poking compost, eating coins, and now trying to mouth forestry. Any chance you screen these guys for common sense?" Zarn hesitated. "They are selected for physiological adaptability. Temperament is variable." "Yeah, I'm getting that." Trevor rubbed his temples. "All right, what's the situation now? Please tell me no one's gone face first into a hornet nest." "No. However, one has developed a rash." He paused. "That's not a medical emergency. It is on their species. The rash indicates spore activation. If untreated, it may cause external growths and social expulsion." Trevor squinted. "Growths? Fungal protrusions. Typically benign. Highly embarrassing." Trevor stood. "Where is it?" "Garage." He blinked. "You put a spore-shedding alien in my garage?" It was closest to a temperature-controlled surface. Trevor made a beeline for the garage door, muttering under his breath. He pushed open the side entrance and stopped short. The alien in question stood motionless in the corner, arms stiff at its sides, skin mottled with pale green blotches. A faint, earthy aroma hung in the air somewhere between wet moss and forgotten lunchbox. It looked miserable. "You're not gonna burst, are you?" Trevor asked. The alien made a low, vibrating sound that rattled the nearby broom. "Okay, good talk." He turned to Zarn. "What triggers the spore thing?" "Humidity. Stress. Unfamiliar microbial contact." Trevor pointed at the corner of the garage. "That's where the dehumidifier leaks. You stuck it next to a puddle." Zarn said nothing. Trevor turned back to the alien. "All right. No need to panic. We're going to dry you off, clean the rash, and get you back to not sprouting mushrooms." He retrieved the handheld fan from the laundry room, a towel, and the emergency allergy kit Maggie kept by the washing machine. The latter wasn't designed for alien use, but it beat doing nothing. Trevor gently dabbed the blotches with the towel, careful not to touch any raised spots. The alien flinched at first, then relaxed slightly. Water from the leak probably carried mold spores. "That's what's feeding this. You're not infected. You're irritated." Zarn tilted his head. "How do you know?" "Because I've seen this before. My nephew got a rash just like it after falling into a leaf pile full of decomposing mulch." "Did he develop external growths?" "No. He got a prescription and a lecture about bath time. He opened the allergy kit and pulled out an antihistamine cream. This won't cure it, but it's going to calm the reaction. It's not designed for your species, so I'm applying a tiny bit first. If you start glowing or smoking, I'm taking it off." The alien gave a shaky nod or something like it. Trevor dabbed a small amount onto the worst-affected patch behind the creature's neck ridge. Within seconds, the mottling began to fade. The alien released a strange, harmonic chirp that rose and fell like a sigh through a kazoo. "That good?" The alien nodded again, more confidently. Trevor sat back on his heels. "Right? You'll need an actual medical follow-up, but that should hold you over." Zarn stepped closer, eyeing the jar of cream. "What is the active compound?" "Diphenhydramine." Zarn repeated the word slowly. "This material is standard. Pretty much. You can buy it in any pharmacy or gas station." Zarn's expression didn't shift much, but he stared at the cream like it was a sacred artifact. "Your species uses this on themselves?" "Daily, in some cases." Trevor capped the jar. "We're allergic to everything. Trees, cats, dust, air. We developed workarounds. You adapted through chemical improvisation. We adapted because we had to. There's no manual for surviving your own planet. He stood and stretched his back. You either get creative or you start growing mushrooms. The alien in the corner chirped again, this time with a grateful lilt. Trevor opened the garage door to let in fresh air. Outside, the sky had deepened into a soft blue-gray and the trees swayed gently in a breeze that smelled like distant rain. Zarn followed him out. Your problem-solving is unorthodox. We call it winging it. Earth's unpredictability is increasingly evident. Trevor rubbed a smudge of cream from his hand with a rag. You came here expecting apex predators. What you found was a species that builds its own survival kit out of duct tape and desperation. We did not anticipate improvisation as a survival trait. You should have. We've been making it up as we go since we figured out how to walk upright. Zarn looked toward the field where Stretchy now sat cross-legged, building a lopsided tower out of pebbles and a broken spatula. Your daughter is teaching one of them arithmetic using bottle caps. She's a fast learner. They'll learn faster. Zarn was quiet for a long moment. Then, we are preparing a final report on Earth's adaptive capacities. It will be used to revise planetary threat assessments. Let me guess, Trevor said. We're getting bumped up to a classification of high caution, not for aggression, for unpredictability. Trevor grinned. Best compliment we've had all week. Zarn turned to go, then stopped. There is one final matter. Trevor raised an eyebrow. The feline. It is. Requested. By who? Our central governance network. They wish to observe it directly under controlled conditions. Trevor shook his head. She doesn't do well in labs, or anywhere someone tells her what to do. We will not coerce. A voluntary interaction. Trevor thought for a moment. You bring her back by dinner. Zarn nodded. Of course. And no lasers. She hates lasers. Zarn hesitated. Understood. An hour later, a small, climate-controlled transport unit scooped up Catsy, who climbed in willingly, likely mistaking it for a heated laundry basket, and lifted off with a soft hum. Trevor watched it rise, arms crossed, until it disappeared behind a drifting cloud. Maggie joined him on the porch with 2 mugs of tea. She'll be spoiled, she said. Probably already is. He took the mug and sat down. From the field, Kara shouted something about gravity not applying to aliens with 3 knees. Stretchy responded by flipping upside down and landing in a bush. Trevor sipped his tea. You think they've learned their lesson? Maggie followed his gaze. Depends. Which lesson do you mean? That Earth isn't just teeth and claws. It's duct tape, cats, and antihistamines. She laughed softly. Then no. But they'll remember. Trevor leaned back and closed his eyes, letting the wind move across his face. From the garage came another quiet chirp. Don't touch the leaf blower, he shouted. The chirping stopped, and for the first time in days, the house was quiet.